Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb.
And this is Estela.
And welcome to
Cafecito
and Crime. So today I sound like a man. Thank you.
You're not, you don't. You're just congested.
I'm a little nasally, so I'd like to apologize. But I have a story for you. So, in the middle of the night, a few days ago, you know how they say que a las 3 de la mañana es cuando sale...
Like the witching hour?
Like the witching hour, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the past few days, I've been waking up at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Pero because I fall asleep and I always leave... Last night I fell asleep and I was wearing my glasses. I'm watching TV and I fall asleep, right? So then I was watching TV and I decided to watch, true crime crap. Entonces estaba bien emocionada, but I fell asleep. So then I fell asleep and then I woke up. Girl, why did I wake up to the TV talking about Evil Lives Here?
Oh,
and
damn.
I was like, and not in my house, bitch.
It was 3 in the morning?
It was 3:10. I said, no, ma'am. I'm going to turn that shit off. I'm like, hell no. Nobody lives here. Girl. I was like, no evil lives in my house.
You're like, Padre Nuestro que está.
Yeah, for real. I was like, nope. So I turned that shit off so quick. I was like, nope, not on my house. Yeah, it was 3:10. Y ahora me volví a levantar at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and I go back to sleep. I don't know. I guess it's because...
You're like, I'm too tired for this shit anyway, so...
Yeah, they're going to come and visit me, like...
I'll be asleep.
Yeah, laven un traste or something,
Yeah. I need help.
I need help. Please. Can you please...
Put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah. Dobla la ropa, mop, something. You're not going to just come and visit me and chill. Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, you can come and visit me, but I need you to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, what do you have for us today, sister?
Okay, so today, for today's case, we are going to... And I've practiced... saying this a lot more than I should.
I thought you were going to say I practice witchcraft. I was like, oh, I know that. Why did I think that? I don't know.
We're going to Besançon, France.
That's not how you say it.
Yes, it is.
There's no way.
Well, people in the news say Besançon, but when I pull up like a French pronunciation, Besançon, France.
That sounds like tienes como 20 años que you don't blow your nose. That's what it sounds like.
I am always congested though.
Yeah, well, so then basically we're always congested.
But I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Besançon.
So anyway, I wanted to actually shout out to one of our followers that she sent us a message in regards to our last episode. In our post, she was talking about how the last episode that we did of what was her name?
Josephson,
Sammy Josephson. Mm-hmm. She said that she's from the area, which shout out to, that's awesome. The fact that she even listens to us. I'm so excited.
And responded to our post.
So anything, that's amazing. First of all, thank you so much. But she was saying that the reason was that they took long to get to
where they found her body.
If you haven't heard it, please go ahead and listen to
the previous
episode. But she said because it was such a small town, they had to, I guess, drive a ways from...
They didn't have a police department.
Well, they had one, pero dice que because it was like in the way of the investigation, I guess, it took them a little bit longer to get there. But then she said that the people were that they were doing a lot of blaming on the victim.
Yeah, they do. I don't know why people fucking do that, dude.
Like why?
It was her fault porque se fue.
Like poor family. I was like, déjela en paz. Like she's already gone. Like I felt so bad.
You're just like piling on top of a family who's already like grieving. And for what? It wasn't her fault. Like, you should be able to do whatever you want without worrying que algo te vaya a pasar.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think too. Like, why didn't he do something when it was happening instead of being it's your fault because you did that?
It's his fault. He decided to kill her. So, it's only his fault and his fault alone.
Anyway, but thank you so much to our follower that sent us that message. We really appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen and to message us. Mm-hmm. But we're going to get started. We're going to France.
To France, yes.
Dilo otra vez, a ver.
Besançon.
Parece que estás diciendo Sansón, güey. No mames. So if you'd like to go to France with us, go ahead and grab your cafecitos.
And let's get started. Now, Besançon.
Oh, Jesus.
It's located in the eastern part of France near the border of Switzerland.
Have you been to France?
I have, yes.
Okay. I don't know.
Well, I was in Paris for a day. That's about it.
Bitch, you acted like you had been to the whole, like,
the country.
French Riviera and shit.
No, wait. My passport has I got stamped, bitch. It says France.
Like,
no, it says Paris.
You've been acting like, you just said it
and
like.
I had a layover in France.
Bitch, this bitch acted like she had been all over France. Like,
yeah, I'm like, yeah, I've been in France.
Yeah. Oui? Oui. That's.
Bonjour.
¿Ya hablas francés
No,
tú?
y la song de. No, la de Christina Aguilera, la de. Con esta Lil Kim y esta Pink.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? That's what you were trying to say?
Yeah. See, I know French.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyway, so Besançon is near the border of Switzerland. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it like that for the remainder of the episode, which is about 5 hours from Paris. And the fun, random, interesting fact about Besançon is that it is the birthplace of Victor Hugo. He was one of France's most important romantic writers, and his most famous works are The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Cool.
And Les Miserables. I know there's like a movie with Anne Hathaway and a whole bunch of other...
Yeah, I think they won like a whole bunch of awards for that,
yeah, and it's a musical or some shit.
Yo nunca la vi.
Me either. I always say I wanted to watch it, but I never did. But so that was where he was born.
Cool. That's a really cool, interesting random fact.
Of?
I don't know.
Say it.
I don't know how to say it.
Besançon.
Not going to try.
Okay. Now, so this case, actually, I'm sure you're going to remember, was requested by one of our listeners somewhat late last year. She sent us an email, ¿te acuerdas?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
yes. And I know it took us a little bit to get here.
Sorry, thank you for the email.
Yes. So I don't know if she wanted us to say her name or not, so I'm not going to say it. But but she knows who she is, if she's still listening.
Thank you.
And I'm actually glad it took us a little bit of time to get to it because there was an update just in December.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, for this
cool.
case. So the case involves multiple countries, France, Chile, and Japan. So I hope I don't confuse anybody.
I'm already confused.
And, I can keep it all straight.
It's too fucking late.
So we will be discussing the name of Narumi Kurosaki. And so I'm just going to say this right now. Her body to this day has never been found. But there was somebody convicted of her murder.
You already making me mad?
Yeah. So Narumi Kurosaki was born on July 23rd of 1995 in Tokyo, Japan. And she was the oldest out of 3 girls. Her sisters' names are, I think this is how you pronounce it, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing, Onami and Kurumi. Her parents did divorce, and the girls se quedaron con la mom. Daeko, I believe that's how you say her mom's name. And as a child, Narumi was described as just like very curious. She wanted to do all the things. She was very active. She was in swimming. She played the piano. She danced. She just won awards for all kinds of things. I'm always like, how do people have...
Let's take a quick break. Persons of Interest is back, and it's bigger than ever.
That scream will echo in my head for many years.
Taser! He's gonna shoot!
Oi! Shot fired. Shots fired.
Stay out! You got a gun on you!
He had the perfect aim.
I am absolutely stressed at that point. I have no idea where my officers are.
Persons of Interest available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Are you good at stuff?
No, I mean, they are, like, there's some people that are just good at stuff. Like, it just,
obviously,
amazing.
If you continue at it, you get good at it. I mean, like, I understand that.
But, like, there's people that are just naturally good at, like, things. Like, I'm not naturally good at drawing. Never have I ever been. And there's some people that are amazing drawers. Yeah. And you're like, God, how?
What does it feel like to have talent?
I don't know. Because I don't. So,
me either.
Yeah, there we go.
She was always smiling and laughing. She was also described as brilliant. She learned to read fairly quickly in preschool. Y les leía a los otros niños que no sabían leer.
Girl.
Yeah.
I know somebody that's like that.
She excelled in school and wanted to pursue higher education. So her dream was to attend a private university, but she knew that financially they just weren't able to afford it. So she chose to attend a state school instead, the University of Tsukuba. I just pulled up the pronunciation. So her mom even Even though it wasn't a private university, her mom still worked 3 jobs just so she could attend university. Y Narumi también ponía de su parte. She would hold down part-time jobs as well. And she didn't let that interfere with her schooling.
I think that when you see that your son or daughter is really like devoted, like te dan más ganas de trabajar más. Like you feel like I can do this because they're devoted.
And I want the best.
I want the best
for them.
So like si vas y trabajas todos los días y es un huerco que le vale madre, like you're like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's awesome.
And so ella se despertaba a las 5 de la mañana to study. Like she said that she was very considerate of other people también. When she would do that and open las luces, she'd just crack open the window y con la luz que entraba de afuera. That's how she studied, bitch, at 5 a.m.
Wow.
She was dedicated, independent. She was a hard worker. She was also very sociable and was able to make friends easily. And, you know, she liked to do teenager stuff, hang out with her friends, you know, and just do her own thing. And it was while attending the University of Tsukuba at the age of 19 that Narumi would go on to meet 24-year-old Nicolas Zepeda at a party in October of 2014. Let's talk about Nicolas. Nicolas Zepeda was born on December 11th of 1990. It was either in Tecumo or Santiago, Chile. One of those two. I couldn't find an exact answer. 2 parents, Humberto Zepeda and Ana Contreras. Like Narumi, he was also one of 3 kids, and I think he was the oldest también. And he also had 2 sisters who were twins. The whole family was very close. They spent a lot of time together, and the Zepeda family, they were well off, like they had money. His dad was an executive at a telecommunications company, and his mom was an engineer. But I don't believe she was working as one. I think she was the secretary of a government official or something like that. Nicolas himself, as a child, was described as warm, que era bien cariñoso, cheerful, athletic también. He was very active. He did all kinds of sports. And as he grew older, he did marathons.
Just all around awesome.
Yeah, can't relate.
Same. I'm not running nowhere, girl. I'm not running nowhere.
He graduated from high school in 2008 and attended the University of Chile, where he studied administrative sciences. That was my ankle.
That was the ankle. Siempre.
While at university, he was described as very smart. He was always one of the top students. He was organized, involved in like the student life, student activities. And in 2014, he traveled to Japan to attend the University of Tsukuba. And it was part of an exchange program.
Oh, okay. Kind of like Yoshi.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But for college, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nicolas arrived in Japan just a couple of months before he met Narumi in October. After they met, they didn't begin dating right away. They actually began dating officially 5 months later in February of 2015. And to everyone around them, it seemed as if they were really in love, I guess you can say, for all the differences that they had, such as like living in different countries, having different cultures, and speaking different languages. They also seem to have a lot in common.
Yeah, like total different languages, like nada que ver.
Yeah, they mostly communicated in English, but you know, he spoke Spanish, she spoke Japanese. They were both very driven. They both liked to learn. They were both very active and outdoorsy. There were a lot of videos and pictures of them online where they were just out eating, like doing activities.
That's my favorite thing to do is eat. Yeah. I love eating.
Having dinner, se andaban besando, like all that stuff, you know, being a couple pues.
Bien cutesy.
But as we know, things aren't always what they seem.
That's true.
Now, when Nicolas, I guess the exchange program se acabó and he had to go back to Chile, they maintained a long-distance relationship. Narumi even went to Chile and to visit him for a month, and vice versa. Nicolas even moved to Japan in April of 2016 to be with Narumi, and he wanted to find a job and all that and all those things. Now, as I just mentioned a little bit ago, Narumi worked hard in her studies, and it all paid off when she managed to secure a scholarship to study in France in August of 2014. She wanted to study French.
Not study.
Study French. And it was then where problems that they, you know, I mean, every relationship tiene problemas, right? But it was at that time when she moved to France that I think the distance amplified their problems and they started, become more prominent. So much so that the relationship would end 2 months later in October.
Damn. They had been together for a while now?
Yes.
Serían total, ¿qué?
Like a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But before it did end, during September and October, when Narumi was living in France and Nicolas in Japan, because remember, he was in Japan, conversations and messages between the two that were later found in Narumi's laptop painted a picture of a relationship that was hanging by a thread, like a penis.
Wow.
In the exchanges, Nicolas seemed to be very jealous and possessive of Narumi and wanted to control her. For example, he wanted her to delete some guy friends that she had met in France off her Facebook.
What? You don't tell me what to do.
Exactly. And one of the guys' name was Arthur. So just remember Arthur because he'll come back up.
Not what a wonderful time today.
So according to Nicolas, if Narumi deleted the guys off her Facebook, then that would show him that she was really committed to making the relationship work.
No, ma'am.
Narumi refused.
Well, yes.
And she was not going to be manipulated. He also went on to, he said, do you want me to message them on Facebook to let them know that you're my girlfriend y que dejen andar detrás de ti?
What the fuck?
Like that.
¿Y cómo sabía que andaba detrás de ella?
Exactamente.
What the hell?
He also, I'm telling you, this wasn't just one conversation. It was multiple, but this is just kind of like what I was able to find that were found. He would also go on to tell her that he was losing his patience and that she was treating him like trash. Es lo que él andaba diciendo a ella.
Pero porque no le hacía caso.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So Nicolas, frustrated with Narumi, posted a video on a website called Dailymotion where users were able to create content or upload videos and make them public. Because he was very like that. He was very into blogs.
He liked talking about himself.
Yeah, probably. He was very romantic stories. Just
he sounds like a narcissist.
I guess he was doing it para desahogarse. I don't know, but in this video that he posted and made it public, he went on to say that the purpose of the video was to make a statement.
Oh.
That recently Narumi had done some bad things, which have now caused her to follow some conditions if she wants to keep her relationship with him.
But the thing is, I don't think she wanted the relationship.
Some conditions, this is what the video was saying. Some conditions will apply while she was in France, and the others will be applicable for forever.
Bro, ya me estás haciendo enojar.
He also said that there was a price to pay for what she did and that she cannot go around making those type of mistakes with the person who loves her.
What the hell?
She had 2 weeks to adhere to his conditions, which we don't know what the conditions were. But if she didn't, she was going to suffer the consequences. And in those couple of months before the breakup, the messages also revealed, not just from this video, but the relationship had turned very toxic between the two of them. Not only was Nicolas possessive and manipulative, but se rayaban la madre. Like los dos estaban hablando bien feo, se insultaban. And we later find out that Narumi had actually confided in some of her friends about Nicolas's behavior. And she told them that she recently had just been seeing his dark side.
So I have a question. So when he was posting this video, did he, who was he talking to?
It's just like a YouTube, I guess.
Okay.
He was just recording himself, and then he would I think it was a blog. I didn't really pull up what this website was, but it was just like a video of him, and he was just recording himself and posting it out there for people. I guess people could comment or whatever.
Pero, did he think she was gonna see it or something?
I don't think so, no.
So he was just talking out his ass?
Yeah, se estaba desahogando el señor.
Oh.
Yo creo.
That makes no sense, but okay.
And things just kept getting worse. Not sure what the context of the conversation was exactly, but on October 8th, which would be like their breakup date, in a message exchange, Narumi threw in Nicolas's face the lack of support in what might have been a pregnancy, which was never ever confirmed before she moved to France. And then he went on to tell her that, that she was selfish and that she was the one that ruined them as a couple. Y ella nomás le rayó la madre, and that was it. And that was considered the breakup, right? Mm-hmm. But before the actual breakup, como que Narumi had already been checked out of the relationship, right? And now she was finally free, like they had finally broken up. Now that she was free from that sour relationship with Nicolas, Narumi began dating Arthur de Piccolo.
No. ¿Cuál de Piccolo? ¿A quién le vas a picar?
Ese es su apellido.
De Piccolo.
De, and then Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
I remember, he was one of the guys
that she had been...
that he was jealous of. Que le dijo que le quitara del face. Uh-huh. So she looked happy in her new relationship. Again, you know, there were pictures of them. They would upload them to Facebook, out eating. I think she was like a foodie or something. She like, I mean, who isn't? Just going out to eat, taking pictures, recording. They made plans that they were going to go to Japan and visit her family. They were going to go skiing.
Not skinny.
They were going to go skiing at the end of the year.
Like, I feel like she was just like excited to
be in a new relationship, especially after being in one that I guess things had just kind of took a turn for the worst. So like you said, yeah, she was just excited. Now, Arthur was aware of Nicolas and, you know, that she had just recently broken up with him. Y according to Arthur, Narumi le había dicho that the reason for the breakup was because he was harassing her. But he said that he personally never saw Nicolas in person or anything like that. And that was the extent that he knew of their relationship and the breakup. After the breakup with Narumi, Nicolas left Japan and he returned home to Chile on October 10th. About a month and a half later, on November 28th, he traveled to Europe, which according to him, to visit colleges because he wanted to get his graduate degree. So he was like scoping out colleges. Y también iba a ir a visitar a su primo in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. So December 4th would be the last day that Narumi is seen ever.
I don't say it like that.
Pues, ¿cómo quieres que te lo diga?
Pobrecita. I don't know who she is, pero...
The previous night, on the 3rd, Arthur se había quedado con ella in her... Obviously, it was like a housing for students. I want to say it was like a dorm. Mm-hmm. En su cuarto de ella, pues Arthur se quedó con ella on campus. He left that morning of the 4th, like around 11 in la mañana, because she had to head to class. Later in the day, at around 4 p.m., they were seen together when the couple ran into a couple of her friends close to the university. At around 7 p.m., Nicolas and Narumi are seen at a restaurant having dinner.
What? Just chilling or what?
How, when, why, when, and where?
Did they find a message or, hey, ¿qué onda? Vamos a juntarnos?
Quién sabe, but they ran into each other. And what was said or how they ended up at dinner, we don't know, honestly.
Kind of like our case de la lady that killed the dentist's girlfriend.
Oh, Brenda?
Brenda. Que she
Delgado
would randomly run into him.
Yeah. Obviously, this was out of the blue. None of Narumi's friends were aware that she was going to go out with Nicolas or that Nicolas was even in the fucking country. Conveniently, Nicolas had a new fit because he had bought it at H&M the day before. And they stayed at a restaurant for about 3 hours.
So andaba chido.
Yeah. She was ready for the dinner.
Yeah.
And after, like I just said, they were at a restaurant for 3 hours. Afterward, they headed over to Narumi's room. And they were both seen entering the residence area of students on surveillance close to 11 p.m.
Mm.
So what truly happened between the hours of 11 p.m. on December 4th and about 3:30 a.m. December 5th inside Narumi's room is not known. Mm-hmm. What we do know is that later up to 15 students would testify that they heard screams and banging or hits on furniture at around 3:30 in the morning.
And nobody decided to go look?
Anne Chalette, I think is how you say her last name, was the only one that decided to actually go out into the hallway.
Okay, Anne.
And try to figure out where the noises were coming from. But by the time que salió, the noises had stopped. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't tell where they were coming from.
Well, sí, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I'm nosy. I'll be like, girl at the window.
Later that day, Arthur, worried about Narumi since she hadn't shown up to class and he hadn't heard from her, goes and knocks on her door. Receives no answer. And as he is knocking some more, he receives a text message or a message from Narumi that pretty much I don't know if this was out of the blue to him or not, but the message essentially said that she had met someone else and was spending time with that person, that she was out of town, and that she would explain everything the next day when she came back.
Okay.
And he was just standing there parado in front of her door, just like shocked and pissed off. And he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So se va.
Pues sí, güey. Pues ni modo que se quedara ahí.
Pues sí, pues ¿quién le abrió la puerta?
Pues nadie le abrió.
Now, over the next couple of days or so, he tried getting in contact with her. Like, he would try calling her, but he was never able to get through. He just would get messages from Narumi where she stated that she was in Lyon getting some of her student visa paperwork in order, which was like a thing. I believe that you were supposed to go there into that city and get that sorted out. But also she le dijo que ya nunca lo quería volver a ver and shit.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And to him, things were just not making any sense. The messages that he received from Narumi did not seem like her. And I think he even said at one point that she had emailed him. And then he was like, what the fuck? She's like, she never emailed me ever. It was just, they would use a lot of like messaging apps like Facebook Messenger and another type of messaging app. I don't remember what was the name of it. And also the messages didn't seem like her. Like the way that she texted or the way that the messages were coming in, he was like, she doesn't text like this or she doesn't write like this. And he wasn't the only one who thought so too. Her family and friends were also thinking that something
They were getting the messages too.
Yeah,
okay.
And thinking that things were weird. Mm-hmm. On December 11th and 12th, her family received messages from Narumi that seemed odd. Not only was the content of the message weird, but also the tone of it was not that of someone whose native language was Japanese. It was more of someone who was just learning how to speak Japanese. In one of the messages to her family, she said that she was going to Luxembourg for a week, and quote, and just said, I have a new boyfriend. I leave by myself.
She didn't know what she was talking about, or whoever was, messaging.
Right. The French police were finally contacted about Narumi's disappearance, and they made their way to her room on December 15th. When the police got to her room and they actually went inside of it, things didn't add up because she had been messaging people telling them that she was out of town. But when they actually made it inside her room, all her belongings were in there. Her coat was in there, which it was cold. It was fucking December. And she only had one coat. It was in the room. Her shoes were there. Her wallet was there with 567 euros inside of it. They were able to determine that a suitcase was missing and like I don't know if it was like a throw blanket or like a blanket was gone too. So they were like, well, most of her shit is here, but a suitcase is gone and a blanket. So
that's all she take?
Like, did she leave?
Like she only took a blanket and a suitcase,
right?
Okay. Pero no echó nada de ropa.
Right.
Okay.
But
and
they were like,
she didn't need the money that was there either?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they
or her
were
ID,
like, Right. Her wallet was there.
Her wallet.
Yeah. And it's weird. I mean, she was 21, right? So if she wanted to leave, technically, she could.
She could, but right? I mean, something's not right.
Yeah. At the time that Narumi's room was finally getting opened, Nicolas was in Barcelona visiting his cousin, Juan Felipe Ramirez, who was studying medicine there. And a day later after that, Nicolas would make his way back to Chile. Now, the next day after entering Narumi's room, the French police decided or came to the conclusion that she was missing. So they opened an investigation into her disappearance and they go back to her room. There was no blood found inside of it, but they did discover fingerprints that after an analysis were determined to later belong to Nicolas Zepeda. They had been found on a mug, a wall, a water bottle, the restroom floor, and a sink, which, I mean, cuadra because he was in her bedroom, right?
Yeah, and not only that, pero like, it's not like she had not seen him in a while. I mean, he had been in there before, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's there, I mean, I guess it would have been, si no limpió. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, it's DNA.
Yeah.
It also spoke to neighbors. I mean, her neighboring student.
What the hell was that? The neighboring students. What the fuck? ¿Qué pinches vergas fue eso? The neighboring students. What the fuck?
It's because I'm like, wait, did I say student or students?
The neighboring students. It's like, okay. Okay, bitch.
You're like, I thought it was a sick one here.
For real.
So they spoke to the other students that lived in her same building. And they, they told them that they had heard those noises in la madrugada of December 5th. They searched her laptop, which is when they found those messages between her and Nicolas, which were not nice, to say the least. So Narumi was considered a missing person, and police continued to search for her everywhere. But they soon presumed that she was no longer alive. And based on interviews that they had with Arthur, her family, and her friends, and the messages that they had found on her laptop, Nicolas became a suspect in Narumi's now death on December 23rd of 2016.
How did they come about that? Like, they just be like, oh, she's dead?
Because no la encontraban.
Okay, pero no quiere decir que esté muerta, like...
And by now, the case had turned international.
Yeah.
Japan was urging France to please get justice for Narumi, which they fully intended to do. And Chile stated that they would cooperate in any way possible in Narumi's disappearance because Nicolas would need to be extradited to France, which was not an easy thing to do. An extradition request needed to be submitted along with records that verified the existence of a punishable act and provided proof of at least reasonable evidence of guilty participation.
Yeah, so they're going to have to find out something.
Yeah, they're going to obviously, gather evidence. Which in the case would take years. It would take 3 years to extradite Nicolas to France. And then lo pasó la pandemia también, so, that delayed things.
La Panera Bread.
La Pandy. Mm-hmm. At this point, Nicolas denies having to do anything.
Of course.
Con lo que le pasó a Narumi.
Ni modo que va a decir que él fue. Oye, and I have a question. ¿Y no había como cámaras o algo así?
¿Cámaras?
Cámaras. ¿No había como unas camaritas?
Sí.
Algo allí para que miraran que el Nicolás andaba ahí el compa, bien chido.
Sí, pues ahorita te voy a decir que.
Okay.
So Nicolas obviously lawyered up. His defense team's first attempt at his defense was to avoid extradition at any cost. They would argue that he couldn't be extradited and have charges brought against him because there wasn't a body. Narumi
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. But France would build the case with enough hard evidence that Chile would not be able to deny the official request that was submitted in September of 2019.
Damn, that's like not too long ago.
For his extradition. Yeah. Because remember, this happened in December of 2016 when she...
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it wasn't that...
Damn, dude, that took forever.
It took forever. They have like a lot of
oh, wow.
preliminary hearings and such. So just a lot of, back and forth. In the request, in the extradition request, it stated that Nicolas would be charged with voluntary manslaughter with premeditation, which I found kind of weird because voluntary manslaughter, it's never...
Involuntary or voluntary?
No, they said voluntary.
So then...
Because...
means that he wanted to kill her?
No, well, voluntary manslaughter is not premeditated. It happens in the moment.
Yeah.
But here they're saying that he would be charged with voluntary manslaughter with premeditation.
Oh.
So they believe that Nicolas couldn't accept the breakup between him and Narumi and was upset that she had moved on and used his trip to visit colleges in Europe as an excuse to plan out her murder either before the trip or during it.
Okay.
So I guess that makes sense, like about
premeditated.
Yeah,
okay.
Voluntary, yeah. France would have to present a case, to have Nicolas extradited back to France.
Yeah, it has to be like pretty solid.
Yeah. So that case, the evidence presented in that case to have him extradited would be a lot of evidence también that would be used in his actual trial when he is in France. But we'll get to all of that shortly and all the evidence that was found against him. On April 2nd, 2020, the request to extradite Nicolas was granted by a Chilean top court, and Nicolas and his defense had one appeal at the extradition. The appeal failed, and in May of 2020, the courts gave final approval for the extradition. On July 7th, French police arrived in Santiago to extradite him back to France.
So my question is, was he in jail this whole time or he was at home?
He was like under house arrest, I believe, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
On July 7th, French police arrived in Santiago to extradite him. So, like we just said, this was in the thick of the Panera Bread. And he had
the thick of it? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And then he had to quarantine 3 weeks before he actually made it to France. And his actual trial wouldn't begin until March 29th of 2022.
Damn.
In Besançon. Where the prosecution would seek a life in prison penalty. As I just mentioned a little while ago, the prosecution's motive for Nicolas murdering Narumi was because he couldn't accept their breakup. So he planned her murder, strangled her, disposed of her body, and then pretended to be Narumi using her phone to message friends and family that she was going out of town.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the evidence would be presented for each of those points, which included GPS location from his car rental and his cell phone, his and Narumi's banking information, and testimonies from witnesses. Mm-hmm. Now, Nicolas arrived in Dijon, France on Wednesday, November 30th.
Not Dijon mustard?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's where Dijon mustard comes from.
That would be cool if I did.
So he made it there on November 30th after passing through a couple of airports, one in Madrid and the other one in Geneva, which is in Switzerland. In Dijon, he picked up a rental car, which he had reserved 2 weeks from prior while he was still in Chile.
Okay, so he planned that.
That same day, he purchased a prepaid phone card before making his way to Besançon. He spent the night there and then made his way back to Dijon on Thursday, December 1st, and was placed there at around 5:56 p.m. The car's GPS registers him leaving Dijon at 11 p.m., heading towards Besançon. But before he leaves for Besançon, he stops at a Carrefour. I think that's how you say it. And it's like a retail store where he bought matches, 5 liters of flammable liquid, Clorox, and all of this was corroborated by his banking information. He also spent 2 hours near a foresty area that had like rivers and such in Dole, France, which is just about 40 minutes from Dijon.
Yeah, because they're following him in
GPS.
The GPS.
Yeah. Before heading to Besançon.
Oh, Jesus. If you don't stop doing that shit, bruh.
After he arrived in the area of Besançon, you're like, thank you.
Thank you.
He got a room at a hotel called La Table de Gustave, which was in Ornans, a small town about 15 miles outside of Besançon, for the next couple of days. 2 witnesses also testified that they saw a man about around his height, maybe like 5'7", 5'8", with like bronze skin and black hair. And they said he had like an American accent in the university's residence area. They saw them there they saw that man there 2 days before Narumi's disappearance, so like around the 2nd. Que lo vieron en la cocina y que se andaba escondiendo, and then he was like roaming the hallways.
The fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Quién sabe. And they also picked him out. They also picked out Nicolas out of a picture lineup and saying, yeah, this is the guy that we saw in the hallways.
That was in the kitchen and shit.
Yeah, being weird as fuck.
Okay.
Güey, disimúlalo.
Bitch.
Play it on.
Like maybe pick a closet instead of the fucking kitchen.
O siéntate a leerte un libro o algo, like pretend. Siquiera limpia la cocina or something.
Yeah, pero es que you know what? Some people, they're that, like you would think that they're not that stupid, but they are. Like they are that stupid.
You know, I was gonna say, you know how some people are so smart that they're dumb?
Yeah.
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 Not only that, but Nicolas would admit to meeting up with Narumi, well, duh, because they were on surveillance video, going to dinner. He admits hanging out with Narumi and going out to dinner and then going back to her room. But he says that when he left Narumi's room, she was fine. And remember, they were seen on surveillance entering her room, but neither were seen leaving. Mm. According to Nicolas, he left through an emergency exit where he wasn't seen by any of the cameras.
For what?
In the early mornings of December 6th. So he was there in Narumi's room for about good 30 hours. He stated that he didn't use the front entrance, like the way he came in, because you're gonna laugh at this. Something about it that his phone had slipped through a crack and landed in a bush, and it was just easier to go pick it up through that emergency exit. Y lo le sirvió que it wasn't far from where he had parked his car.
Girl, you better get your shit out of here. The fuck are you talking about? Bro, man, this is why, Boozy says, come on, man. There's no way.
Now, the prosecution believed that it was through this emergency exit that Nicolas put Narumi's body in that suitcase that was missing from her room and took it out through that emergency window that the cameras didn't catch.
There was no cameras back there.
There were a lot of cameras, but I guess he figured out a way where the cameras no lo iban a ver.
I mean, he must have really looked into this. He wasn't.
Andaba ahí de metiche
in la kitchen,
los hallways and shit.
The fuck?
So he probably was scoping up the area, right?
Yeah.
Now, after leaving the university resident area, his rental car drives to that Dole area, which I just mentioned. It's that foresty.
Yeah, the woody
with the
stuff, yeah.
He stayed there for under 2 hours, which is enough time to get rid of a body, if you ask me.
I mean, yeah.
If I ask you, do you think that's enough time to get rid of a body?
I don't know. Under 2 hours or 2 hours?
Just under 2 hours.
No.
Cuadra. Puede pasar.
Yeah.
Then he drove to Dijon.
Dijon mustard.
In Dijon, there's a purchase made with Narumi's banking card for a ticket traveling from Besançon to Lyon, which is about 3.5 hours away. Now, if you recall, Arthur received a message from Narumi's phone stating that she was sorting out some student visa paperwork in Lyon. The French police had extensively searched that forest area donde el güey estuvo for Narumi, and nothing was ever found. They even brought in like divers to go through like the rivers and such. Y nada tampoco. It also didn't help that it was like the winter time y todo eso, and the snow didn't help. It is believed that Nicolas strangled Narumi based on the lack of blood in her room. Remember that her neighbors heard screams and banging and noises and all that such. So a fight must have ensued, but no weapon was ever found either. Mm-hmm. So to drive this matter home a bit more, Nicolas's cousin, the one that he visited in Barcelona, Juan Felipe Ramirez, testified that not only did Nicolas ask him to not post about him visiting him in Barcelona, pero también le preguntó, quote, how does someone die by asphyxiation?
Oh, well, that sounds like you're trying to get information.
Sounds like you're guilty to me.
Yep.
I'm just kidding.
Allegedly.
No, well, he got convicted, so.
Wait, por ahorita es allegedly, wait.
Okay. Now, evidence presented against Nicolas pretending to be Narumi by sending messages via her cell phone would come in the form of testimony from an acquaintance of both Narumi's and Nicolas, who testified that in mid-December, Nicolas reached out to her and asked for a favor. He asked her to translate some sentences from English to Japanese.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, he wasn't smart enough to use Google Translate?
No.
Oh, okay.
And one of the sentences was, quote, I happen to be in an environment where I can connect to the internet. And another one was, quote, I have a new boyfriend, but I'm leaving alone. Which is que le dijo a su familia, I'm going to Luxembourg. I have a new boyfriend. I leave by myself.
That other girl was probably like, let me bullshit this motherfucker.
And then también another one that, quote, said, I'm taking a trip on a train.
I mean, that man is something else because he was smart, but he wasn't that smart.
Nope.
Not at all.
Smart enough to plan it, but not to really execute it the way you need it to be executed.
I mean, I'm not no expert in killing people, but I mean, shit.
I'm not an expert in much.
Yeah, in anything, hopefully, but
to be honest,
but damn, like you didn't even try
to not leave a paper trail.
Yeah, like bitch, you're stupid.
Now, Nicolas's defense team would go on to make a couple of arguments against some of the points.
If I was Nicolas's defense team, I'd be like, you know what? Ahí te ves. You deal with this. Bye. Because yo no puedo. Andas haciendo mamadas. Yo no puedo. No puedo.
One was that Narumi was alive. And if she did leave or was missing, it's because it was on her. She did it on her own accord. Her body had not been found. So how could they be sure that she was not alive anymore, right? To counter some of the claims that he was upset about their breakup, that they had ended on bad terms, and that's why he had killed her, the defense team presented messages and emails between the two after October 8th, which was after their breakup, where the exchanges were not those of people who hated each other's guts. And I really don't know the full context of this conversation, but the message started with Nicolas. He sent, quote, maybe you didn't know, but this was opened in case of an emergency and you may need to contact me. So then Narumi responded with, me too. And then he said, that's so sweet. And then he asked her if she had a picture of their last video call. And to that, Narumi answered with, I'm sorry for the words. I will love you.
Bitch couldn't even talk to himself.
No, wait. Like, these were actual conversations because this was in October.
Oh, I thought that he was doing it to himself. So what the fuck were they talking about?
Exactly. I couldn't read like the whole picture of the text. That was just what they were saying. Now, Narumi also sent an email to Nicolas on October 29th. So this was 23 days later after they had broken up. And in it, she wrote that he didn't have to open the email and he could ignore it if he wanted to. And she went on to say, my feelings for you doesn't change, but still, we had such a great time and experiences. Those memories are so precious. I think you're a great person. Live your life with your cute smile. I think it said cute smile. It was kind of blurry towards the end. That's the only thing I can make out. It was kind of blurry.
Pobrecita, she didn't mean any harm. Like, she was just like, leave me alone. You go your way and I'll go mine. Like, yeah. Pobrecita.
And then she went on to say, just wanted to say it. Kisses, Narumi. And I believe this was one of multiple emails que ella le había mandado that he never responded to.
Like, she was probably like saying, I don't want to be with you or something, you know?
A lo mejor él se andaba haciendo del rogar.
Sí, güey.
Le gustaba la atención.
Pobrecita.
Yeah. Now, as far as like the noises and the screamings that the people heard, he said that it was because they were having sex that night.
I don't know.
No, that's what he said. Nicolas also went on to state that when Arthur le fue a tocar la puerta a Narumi that next day, they were both inside the room and that they were watching a movie with headphones on and that she motioned for him to be quiet. And then that's when she texted Arthur y le dijo que she had met somebody else and she was spending time with that other person. Y luego dijo que después de eso, that's when he left in the very early morning of December 6th, again, through that emergency exit.
Mamadas, nada más.
And the reasoning that he gave for that, we just went over that. Now, another argument for the defense was that if Narumi was, in fact, no longer alive, maybe it was Arthur who might have hurt her because he was upset porque lo había dejado. And Arthur was initially like the first suspect. Era novio, right? Like, I get that. They searched through his phone and his home and they interviewed him.
Pero if they look at the surveillance camera, Arthur nunca se va con ella.
Exactamente. But it was just like they had him by that point,
okay,
right?
Okay.
And then Arthur's the one that like, no, she had an ex that was harassing her. Maybe you should be the one to look into him. And then he's the one that gave them Nicolas's name. And then they ended up finding all that stuff, the surveillance video and such. Yeah. And also, if Nicolas, the defense was still going at it, like also if Nicolas had killed Narumi and disposed of her body, why wasn't there any DNA in his rental car? But to that, the prosecution, they weren't worried about, because they said he had put her in a suitcase. So there wouldn't be any of her DNA in his rental car, right?
That's correct. And there was no blood because he suffocated her.
Oh, yeah. So on April 12, 2022, Nicolas Zepeda was found guilty and sentenced to 28 years in prison.
Damn.
He did appeal his sentencing, and the retrial began on February 21st of 2023, or it was set to begin, but would later be postponed until December 4th of 2023 because Nicolas's sought new counsel, and they were unprepared to adequately defend him at the time that the trial was supposed to start, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the retrial, his defense team included witnesses who claimed to have seen Narumi alive days after she was supposedly murdered. Such witness was a man named Saeed Neremi, who stated to have seen Narumi in a restaurant in Besançon on December 11th. According to Saeed, she was crying at a table and speaking to a French soldier, saying that she couldn't stay, that she was scared and that he was going to return. The soldier asked her what her name was, and she said that it was Narumi. Saeed went on to state that he reached out to the police because he later recognized her picture, because she had been all over the news by then.
Yeah.
And that they told him that he had seen somebody else, that it wasn't Narumi, that he was mistaken.
What the hell?
Now, there was also another person who stated to have seen Narumi. I believe she was a waitress, and she said that she saw Narumi that same day that Saeed is saying that he saw her on the 11th. Now, on December 21st of 2023, the French court upheld Nicolas Zepeda's 28-year sentence, and after he serves his sentence, he will not be able to return or enter France ever again.
So he has to stay there for 28 years.
That's his sentence.
And then
you're gone forever.
You're gone forever. And they be doing people like that over there in France?
Yeah.
28 years, damn.
And that's the case of Narumi Kurosaki.
Pobrecita.
No, dude, I felt so bad Because I do believe that it was him.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
Because why are you roaming around being weird and shit? Like, why are you telling people that you're going to go scalp?
Like, why are you telling people to translate things like that? Like, bro, what are you doing?
Why are you buying? See, this is what yo creo que él se la ingenió to like toparse con ella.
Es lo que te digo.
Yeah. Y luego, he probably didn't know if he was going to do anything to her or not, but he was prepared to.
Yeah.
And I think that at dinner and stuff,
cuando ella le dijo, ¿sabes qué? No quiero contigo.
A lo mejor le estaba dando chance of like, hey, maybe I can convince her to get back together with me. Y si ya a lo mejor esta le dijo que no.
No, ya. Sí, cierto, güey.
Yeah. Y no, y pobrecita, dude, su mom y sus sisters, de Narumi, her mom went on to say, like, victim impact statement. And she actually presented that in the trial, that in the case where they presented to have him extradited, that, you know, after what happened to Narumi after her disappearance and stuff, that she's like, que ella perdió su trabajo. Like, her sisters couldn't go to school, and they said that they didn't know that if they could go on, like, they had, like, it was so sad.
Well, because she was everything to them, you know?
And then they said they kept pushing forward because of Narumi, because that's just the type of person that she was. You know, nunca se daba por vencida.
Pobrecita.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
That is so sad.
Y este güey aquí nomás haciendo puro pinche desmadre.
Stupid ass.
Like, there's a million other people on the planet, literally. Encontrate otra pinche persona.
O sea,
supéralo.
¿Por qué no los hombres? No nada más los hombres, just in general, like humanity. If they don't want you, just leave it alone, bro. I promise you, there'll be something out there better for you.
Literally.
Like, there's so many people out there. And it's okay. But don't hurt anybody. Like, why do you want to take somebody's daughter or take somebody's sister like that? Like,
because you just don't, like we always say, you just don't end that person's life.
No.
Like, you end, essentially you end a lot of other people's life with just taking away a loved one, you know?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Pobrecita.
Thank you so much for that case, sister. So if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us at
Cafecito and Crime Pod. Or if you'd like to download our episodes, share our podcast, leave us a review. That'd also be great.
That would be great. Thank you. Because then you're going to make us cry. Nah, I'm just kidding. But anyway, we'll see you or talk to you in the next one.
Bye. It's actually...